So there was a scene that started, and then more and more changes took place, and more reshaping of it took place. It was very much like working on a brand new play, in that you'd get 7 pages, 5 pages, 15 pages of rewrites. You know, you're in Tech Week and you're getting rewrites every night. And I think it was opening night, I was given a 2-page speech at about 6:30 in the evening, and said, okay, we're gonna fold this into the final moment. Okay, sure, you know, because at that point, it was kind of natural to have that.
That was the 3rd time I had played Scrooge, because I had done it 2 other times in the old version. So I had already kind of immersed myself into that world. And golly geez, I look back now and I go, I did 19 Christmas carols at the Dallas Theater Center. And, but it wasn't until Kevin's that you really felt like your life was possibly in danger.
You know, for me, I think it still resonates in the same way in my heart. I found Scrooge to be, for me, I looked at it from a place of a spiritual redemption, that there was an awakening, because that spirit of love had died in him. And it wasn't that he didn't have it, because as we take the journey, we know that at one point he had it, but something else became more important to him. And then I believe that once that moment of love was stricken away, the darkness in his life then took over. So, you know, for me, I look at what we're going through now. There's a darkness that hovers over our world. There's a darkness. So how do we as a country become reborn again? I think that same story could be told now.
I literally never thought, someday, you know, when you're Belle, you go, someday when I miss Mrs. Cratchit, or someday when I miss Mrs. Dilber. But you never go, someday when I have a crack at Scrooge. You know, it was so strange to suddenly be taking a crack at Scrooge, you know, never having imagined that it would ever happen before. It was interesting to see the lineage of women in the various roles in this production, and it just cracked their imaginations open, gave them a different kind of confidence or a different way of seeing themselves, especially with younger women. What they said was, if you can play Scrooge, then I wonder what other kinds of roles that I might be able to play someday. I had all sorts of different versions of Christmas Carol where I got to watch from the perspective of someone else. And so it was really interesting to flip it around and not be an observer and a participant outside of Scrooge, but actually have to come at it from the inside. That was very interesting and really exciting. And I was really glad to have the opportunity to do that.
Scrooge is, he's just a broken man. I mean, he's just completely broken when we meet him at the beginning of this story. Personally, I've seen more people play Scrooge than I've seen play any role in anything. When you think about, how am I going to say bah humbug and make it new? It's like To Be or Not to Be. How do you do that fresh, like you've never heard it before?
You see more Christmas carols than you see Hamlets. And in the same way that every Hamlet provides a new insight, different Christmas carols do too. For all of the darkness that we explored, and at its core, there is something dark to it. It's a ghost story. This fits into Halloween. You know, this is The Nightmare Before Christmas, before The Nightmare Before Christmas. You can only really see the darkness for what it is if you go to that place of joy and redemption at the end of the play. To get a sense of how dark that is to really let that light shine at the end. I feel like that was the most exploratory part for me, was like, how do we take this extraordinarily cruel person and let them celebrate life and love and connection and family?
So playing Scrooge in the bleak midwinter was a real challenge for me. It was quite a shock because all of a sudden, you know, the cast is small, it takes place in a contemporary landscape, there are no ghosts, that really I would only have one costume, which was a hospital gown, that there was nothing to hide behind. So the challenges started to mount, and the focus really became on Scrooge's internal life. And I remember talking to Joel Farrell about how it was going, and Joel said this thing that really stuck with me, which was that it's the greatest intervention story ever told. And so I started to think about it in those terms. It was also really fun and challenging that it was being filmed. And I feel like we created a really unique experience out of a time and a year where we could have just not. I thank everyone at DTC and all of the donors and the board who really said, keep going, make something, because it was a real pleasure.